A low mood lifts about as well on a roadside wildflower as it does on a prescription antidepressant, and with fewer side effects. In Germany, a doctor can write you a prescription for the flower. That is not folklore. Researchers in Munich pooled 29 controlled trials covering 5,489 patients. And that is exactly what the numbers said. So why does a bronze plaque stand outside an agricultural building in Eureka, California, honoring the beetle America shipped in to strip that same plant off 400,000 acres of rangeland? Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. Bonn, West Germany, 1978. The West German government sets up a scientific board inside its federal drug agency with an unglamorous job. Read every study on the old herbal remedies still sitting in German pharmacies and rule on which ones work. The board becomes known as Commission E. Over 16 years, it publishes 380 verdicts in the Federal Gazette, one plant at a time. In 1984, it rules on a yellow, 5-petaled flower from the dry meadows of Europe. Approved. Cleared for depressive moods, for anxiety, for nervous unrest. Not as a health food. As a licensed medicine, a German doctor prescribes and a German pharmacist fills. The review that settled the science came out of the Center for Complementary Medicine in Munich, where Klaus Linde and 2 colleagues pooled every randomized double-blind trial they could find. 18 tested the flower against placebo. 17 tested it head-to-head against synthetic antidepressants. Against the pills, it drew. 52% responded on the flower. 52% responded on the serotonin drugs. That is the same number twice. And the flower got there with fewer patients quitting over side effects. That is not a supplement label talking. That is the Cochrane collaboration, the gold standard physicians lean on when deciding what to prescribe. The plant is Hypericin perforatum, St. John's wort. The bottle you have walked past 1,000 times in the vitamin aisle, next to the fish oil. So you already know the name. What you likely do not know is that it grows wild in your state, that you can confirm it in 4 seconds by holding a leaf to the sky, and that the American government once spent decades removing it from the landscape on purpose. First, the honest part. The flower has a ceiling. The National Institutes of Health funded the largest American trial ever run on it. Jonathan Davidson at Duke University Medical Center enrolled 340 outpatients across 12 clinics, all with moderately severe major depression, and gave them a standardized German extract, a placebo or Zoloft. The results landed in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2002. Full response came in at 23.9% on the plant, 31.9% on the placebo, and 24.8% on the Zoloft. Read those 3 numbers again. Everyone quotes the first, and nobody quotes the third. The plant failed to beat a sugar pill. So did the Zoloft. That trial gets cited as the end of the story in America. But what it found is narrower and far more useful. At the depth of illness where somebody needs a psychiatrist, this flower is not the answer. At the mild to moderate end, where those 29 trials sat, nothing changed. Which brings us to why America went after it anyway. Northern California, around 1900. The flower arrives from Europe by accident and finds the dry, open ground of the Klamath River country agreeable. Ranchers name it Klamath weed. In the mountain states, they call it goatweed. And they hate it. The same red pigment that interests German pharmacologists, Hypericin, makes cattle and sheep dangerously sensitive to sunlight. An animal that grazes enough of it blisters and scabs across any patch of pale skin, goes off its feed, and loses weight all summer. Photosensitization. A rancher watching that is watching money walk right off the hillside. By 1943, surveyors put 400,000 acres of California rangeland beyond use for grazing. The plant goes on to the federal noxious weed list. Therefore, the Department of Agriculture and the University of California tried something no one in North America had attempted. They went looking for an assassin. Australia had the same infestation and had already imported European leaf beetles. American entomologists obtained them, quarantined them, and confirmed they would eat Hypericin and nothing else. From 1946, they went out onto the range. Chrysolina quadrigemina, a quarter-inch beetle in a hard metallic shell that reads green or bronze depending on the light. This was the first attempt in North American history to beat a plant with an insect instead of a plow or a chemical. It worked better than anyone predicted. Larvae stripped the leaves through winter. Adults surfaced in spring and ate the flowers before they could set seed. By 1957, wherever the beetles had taken hold, the plant was down more than 99%. In 1958, the ranchers of Humboldt County did something you almost never see. They cast a monument to the insect. A bronze plaque, the beetle raised in relief on its face, dedicated in Rona Park in Fortuna, California, naming the insect and the men who brought it over. When the county built its agricultural center in Eureka, the plaque moved to the front of that building. It is still there. You can drive up and read it. A public monument in solid bronze to the removal of the exact plant a German doctor can prescribe. Nobody was hiding anything, and that is what makes it worth looking at. Germany asked what this flower does for a patient. America asked what it does to a steer. Both answers were correct. Then the 1990s arrived, and the plant collected its debt. Demand for St. John's wort ran past supply by 1997. Eastern growers started planting it as a cash crop, while buyers sourced fresh material from naturalized Oregon stands. Riding in on one of those western shipments, the beetle crossed the continent. It surfaced in Brevard, North Carolina, wintered over, and settled in. 2 years later, it was chewing through experimental plantings at a state research station. The insect America imported to destroy this plant followed it east and started eating the cash crop. You would think somebody would have seen that coming. So once America wanted the flower, why did it never come back as formal medicine? Because a licensed medicine needs a filing, and a filing needs an owner willing to spend a fortune building one. Nobody does that for a wild plant anyone can grow. German companies held proprietary standardized extracts worth defending, so they filed and their trials got funded. American sellers never had to. Nothing got standardized, and the shelves filled with bottles of wildly uneven strength, which is why the American trials came back messier than the German ones. And this flower is not gentle. It switches on a receptor in the liver that ramps up the enzyme system, clearing most prescription drugs out of the blood. In 2000, Swiss cardiologists reported in The Lancet that 2 heart transplant patients went into acute rejection because the plant had cleared their anti-rejection drug from their bloodstream. That same year, the journal reported it dropping an HIV medication by 57%. There are documented cases of it weakening digoxin, blood thinners, statins, and birth control. A plant that can dismantle a transplant drug is not inert. That is the best evidence going that the German pharmacists were right about what sits inside it, and the reason it does not belong stacked on a medicine cabinet without the doctor who filled it knowing. 1 to 3 feet tall, on a round stem with 2 raised ridges running up opposite sides. Leaves in opposite pairs, oblong, stalkless, small. Hold one against the sky and it lights up with hundreds of translucent pinholes. They are not holes. They are oil glands, and they are why botanists named it perforatum, meaning pierced. The flowers run bright yellow, 5 petals, about an inch across, with small black dots along the petal edges. Crush an unopened bud between 2 fingers, and it bleeds reddish purple. That is the Hypericin, and the surest confirmation you will get in the field. Peak bloom lands around the 24th of June, the feast day of John the Baptist. That is where the name came from. It means the plant announces its own season. For most of its recorded history in Europe, this was an external remedy, not a tea, and the preparation is the simplest in the herbal record. Pack a clear jar with fresh flowering tops, cover them in olive oil, and set it on a sunny windowsill. Over 2 or 3 weeks, the oil draws the pigment out and turns deep translucent red. Red oil. That was the standard dressing for scrapes, burns, and bruises across the continent, running back to the Greeks. The compound that burns cattle in the sun can make fair skin sun-sensitive too, which is why the old preparations went on at night. So the record reads like this. A German board cleared this flower as medicine in 1984. 29 trials found it holding even with the prescriptions, and a bronze plaque still stands on a lawn in Eureka, honoring the beetle that took it off 400,000 acres. Neither one was a conspiracy. The flower simply grew in a country that needed the grass more than the medicine. It is out there right now, in the ditch and along the fence line, flowering in the last week of June. If this vault changed how you see the wild plants around you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault. The next vault opens soon.